they've got plenty of clean air before they'll catch the next group. The second group is made up of, plenty of fast cars. Those 992 machines are a rocket ship in a straight line. Maybe don't have the aerodynamic performance through the corners of a GT3, yes, but can very much match, if not best, them down to Tosca. 3 drivers for this Gsport Audi 16. Christopher Haase starts, but he'll car over at some point to Alex 6 with Ben Green as well. Pair of Brits waiting in the wings for Verstappen and Lucas Howard, just 2 drivers in which to split their time between. And Verstappen has said candidly over the weekend that one of the tasks for him being here at the track is to help Lucas get as much seat time as possible.
Yeah, it's an interesting pairing, isn't it? Of course, these two have previous that goes back 10 years, Formula 3 days, and Lucas Howard very much known for DTM, I guess, more, but a very, very established and talented driver. So yes, he's got to balance the amount of time that they give Lucas in this car with the amount of time that Max Verstappen, with his limited schedule, is able to get behind the wheel of this car. So everything is a balance, and that's clearly one of the reasons why they have 2 drivers in that car, whereas many of the other cars and teams have 3 drivers, in some cases 4.
For Grella, they were entered yesterday with 3 drivers. The road chief, Christopher Royer, was pulled up to racing Grella. He knew what a prestigious honour it was and what his task was as well, which was to do the opening stint, stay out of trouble. Don't see him entered on that entry list today, but there are plenty of drivers who, as we called out before, Permit B, they are trying to get their final licence checks done ahead of next month's race, with no real further opportunity to be able to do that. We have seen a change, by the way. The Black Falcon Team Fanatec car and jumped in front of the Cup 2 runners, and so now I have no doubt that fans of sim races around the world will rejoice as Jimmy Brockhead and Steve Brown, Misha Schuderin and Manuel Metzger, only a couple of tenths clear though in that battle. The Cup 2 class sees around 3 seconds, excuse me, covering 4 cars, and that includes the 82 class entered Black Falcon Team Fanatec machine. Still working through the Nordschleife. Christopher Haase has not let Verstappen run away by any means. Marco Bortolotti trying to keep close, but he's lost a bit of ground in the last handful of sectors. Seems to make up a bit more time at the start and the end of the lap, whereas the Mercedes and the Audi very evenly matched throughout the entirety of the lap, I would say, Neil.
Yeah, very evenly matched, but very similar style of driving, but 0.6, 0.7 of a second is the gap Verstappen to Haase, which is a lot bigger than it was the other way around, if you see what I mean. That when Verstappen was behind Haase, he was much closer than that. So this is a reasonable gap, and he's probably just about outside of getting any kind of draft or slipstream on Max. So a little bit of a chance for Max, at least until they come upon more traffic, to extend the lead and get into his own rhythm without having to worry about a car in front. And then the gaps after that, sort of 2 seconds, and then another 2 seconds, and then another 4 seconds. So these two are the closest at the front of the field, and as you can see, Haase is starting to gain ground on Max.
Trying to figure out where these drivers may decide the fight isn't worth it, but Christopher Haase decides long way around, down in towards Tiergarten, around Antonio Spuka. I'll try it. Max Verstappen says no thank you, I'll hold on as we close out the 3rd lap of this race. Remarkable racing, and again, cast your mind back to NLS2 when these two tangoed plenty as well. Verstappen punches in an 8:10.453, a new fastest lap of the race, and everyone behind is a couple of seconds off. These front 3 drivers, Bertolotti included, class of the field right now. Slight slip up from Christopher Haase, deep on the brakes through the opening switchback, and Verstappen opens up that gap slightly.
Yeah, it looks like every time Haase goes for a move, it slightly unsettles him and he has to pull back a little bit. But that was very close. The potential overtake was very well defended by Max Verstappen.
There's been car off the track, the 651 BMW, so slightly misidentified that number, I believe, down at Flansgarden, but for the Adrenaline Motorsports team, Manhattan Wheels, 4 drivers at the wheel of that BMW M240i Racing Cup car, they have been able to continue and nurse that car.